Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, May 27th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave your baseball picks in the comments section below. If you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. I'm running a daily $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, May 27th. First up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Cincinnati Reds. This will be the first game of this weekend series between the two National League teams. Now, we saw the Reds' offense explode on Thursday afternoon. Didn't see it coming whatsoever. A 20-5 victory over the Cubs. It's really hard to fade a team when they're coming off a performance like that offensively, but it's not going to be easy for this Reds offense as they do face Carlos Rodon on the mound for San Francisco. Rodon's got a 3.43 ERA, a 2.13 FIP, 12.49 strikeouts per nine, so he's missing a lot of bats, and he's limiting home runs this season, only 0.4 home runs per nine allowed. His average exit velocity is in the top 76 percentile. The only thing that concerns me, sometimes he runs into issue with the walk, and sometimes his hard hit percentage is a little bit below average, 37th percentile. But other than that, Rodon has been one of the sharper pitchers in the National League West. And although the Reds did score so many runs and had a lot of base hits on Thursday, they are still one of the weaker teams in terms of hitting against lefties this season. Before that Cubs game, they were ranked 30th in the league in team OPS against left-handed pitching and in the bottom 5 in isolated power against lefties. And with not an official starter announced for the Reds for this game, an already pretty weak bullpen that did have to get some work in because of the rain delay against the Cubs, I do think this is going to be a tough spot for Cincinnati. Could be a higher scoring game, but I think the Giants lineup can go toe-to-toe here. Give me the Giants on the money line. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Washington Nationals. Austin Gomber and Aaron Sanchez are your projected starters. Now, I do like to fade the Rockies on the road, but I do think this is a spot where the Rockies have a really good shot at winning this ball game, and if they're going to take a game in this series, this would be the one in my opinion, as Austin Gomber is one of the sharper options for the Rockies in their rotation this year. A 4.11 ERA and a 4.18 FIP is not bad for a pitcher that pitches half its starts at Coors Field, even more than half of his starts. He's had 46 innings this season. The strikeout numbers are down for him, but he's also limited the walks this year. And the reason why Gomber has so much success at Coors Field is he limits hard contact. And he's going to be facing a Nationals lineup that has struggled overall this year against lefties. They're ranked dead last in baseball in isolated power against lefties, and they're ranked 25th, the Nationals are, in team OPS against lefties. On the other side, Aaron Sanchez has really struggled in 2022. Now, in his last start, his offense was able to back him up against the Brewers, but he's still giving up 1.63 home runs per nine. He's given up at least one homer in his last 5 starts. He only has 4.23 Ks per nine, so he's not missing a lot of bats, not earning those strikeouts. So he has a 7.16 ERA and a 5.5 FIP. I know the Rockies' bats have struggled on the road, but I do think they're going to be able to get to Sanchez in this spot. I think Gomber is a good option for Colorado in the rotation. So I'm going to take the Rockies here on the money line at a good price. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox hosting the Baltimore Orioles. Now, we don't have an official lineup for this game quite yet, so we could see a pitching change. But right now, we see Kyle Bradish and Garrett Whitlock as the projected starters. You know, the Orioles have been really solid at home as underdogs. Even when they're favorites, they haven't been too shabby this season. But on the road, they've really struggled. The bullpen numbers also kind of a big difference in terms of their ERA, road, and home splits. And they're 6-16 away from Camden Yards this season, while the Red Sox, despite being under 500 on the year, are at 500 at 10-10 at home in Fenway Park this year. And I do like this matchup with the Red Sox. You know, their bats are starting to wake up. They look solid against the White Sox in that series. The first game, they scored 16 runs. And I do think Whitlock has a bounce-back start. You know, he struggled against the Mariners. He gave up a lot of singles. No extra base hits, really, to come of it. But, 10 hits in that one. Not what we're used to seeing from Whitlock. But like I said, no walks, no home runs. I think he bounces back. The Red Sox actually ended up winning that game anyway, and the Red Sox have won Whitlock's last 3 starts, and those were against some pretty tough teams in the Braves and the Astros as well as the Mariners. I like the Red Sox in this spot. I'm going to take them on the money line here. If the price winds up being too steep, I'll lean towards them on the run line as well. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Detroit Tigers. Shane Bieber and Alex Fado are your starters for this one. Now, Shane Bieber, I think, has plenty of regression in his game that I would worry about if I was a Guardians fan, but this is not really the spot that I would fade him in. He's pitching against the Tigers team that he's had success against this season and in years past, and this year he's coming off his start against the Tigers where he went 7 innings, 3-run ball, only 2 of those runs was earned, and 10 strikeouts, no home runs allowed. The strikeouts are starting to pick it up for Bieber, which is good to see, as he is a strikeout guy, and at times this season we've seen him not miss as many bats, but a 2.45 ERA on the road this season, and I do think that his bats are going to back him up better than they did last time against Alex Faedo. You know, Faedo is a righty, and the Guardians have hit righties really well this season. I think they get to Faedo in this spot, and the Guardians are big favorites here on the road for a reason. I'm going to take them on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the New York Mets, and we know this is a big-time rivalry, and in this game, we're going to see Zach Eflin and Carlos Carrasco as the starters. And I do think the Mets could be in trouble in this weekend series. We know they're dealing with some injuries in the rotation. Tyler McGill and Max Scherzer are now out for a little while. Jacob deGrom already started the season on the injured list, so this rotation is getting thinner and thinner. We've seen Chris Bassett struggle, and although Carlos Carrasco hasn't struggled per se, he does have a little bit of regression in his game, in my opinion. You know, we're not seeing him rack up the strikeouts like he used to in Cleveland, where he had 10.8 Ks per 9, 10.85 Ks per 9. This year, only 7.58, so his strikeout numbers are way down. And he hasn't had issues with the home run ball, which we have also seen him struggle with at times. But I do think that there is a lot of value with the Phillies in this spot with Zach Eflin on the mound. I've been surprised with his game this season, 3.65 ERA and a 2.22 expected ERA. He's missing bats, he's limiting walks, and he's limiting home runs. The home run ball has really plagued him in his career thus far. He's always had a home runs per 9 above 1 throughout his career, but this year below that 1, which is important to see. And I think the value is clearly with the Phillies in this spot, and I think this could be a really good series for Philadelphia as well on the road. So I'm going to take the Phillies in game 1 here, getting the plus money with the road dog. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Atlanta Braves. Now, we don't see an official lineup for this game quite yet, so make sure you're checking your information, ESPN.com, MLB.com, always getting those starting pitcher updates. But right now, we see Trevor Rogers and Ian Anderson as the projected starters, and if these are the starters that go, I do think we're going to see a higher scoring game, and I'm going to take the over here. Ian Anderson has already struggled a little bit against these Marlins this season. I do think there's a ton of regression in his game. Like I've mentioned time and time before, I kind of sound like a broken record, but he gets behind the count a lot of times. He walks a lot of batters. He's also had issues with the home run ball at times, and he doesn't really strike out a ton of guys either. Only 31 strikeouts in 42 innings. So, the Marlins team has had a lot of success against righties. I think they're going to have success here against Anderson yet again. On the other side, Trevor Rogers really struggles early on in ball games. He sharpens up as his outing continues, but he's facing an Atlanta Braves team that not only has had success against him in recent outings, they're also really strong against lefties in general this year. The last time Rogers was on the mound on May 20th, he pitched 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 home runs, and 2 walks. And guess who it was against? These Atlanta Braves. The Braves this year 5th in the league in team OPS against lefties and 4th in the league in isolated power against lefties. So I think they're going to get on the board early and often as well. So I'm going to take the over in the Marlins Braves. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Minnesota Twins. Brad Keller and Bailey Ober are your starters here. Now, I do think that both starters are going to see some regression in their game as the season carries on, but I do think Brad Keller is more in trouble in this spot and going forward. He's coming off 3 starts where he's really struggled on the mound for the Royals. 5 earned runs against the Rangers, 3 earned runs against the White Sox, and 4 earned runs against these Twins in a 9-2 Royals loss. He's starting to give up some home runs. The strikeout numbers are still down for him at only 5.15 Ks per 9. And the walks are also starting to be an issue. He gave up 3 walks in his last outing against these Twins. Bailey Ober, his strikeout numbers I'd like to see rise, but he's limiting walks and home runs, which is always good to see as a starter. A 3.28 FIP is solid numbers for him as well, and he's facing a pretty weak Royals lineup here. Minnesota, pretty powerful lineup overall. Good OPS numbers against righties this season at 697, while the Royals all the way down at 658, which is good for 24th in the league. I think the Twins have a mismatch here. I'm going to take them on the run line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Yet again, we don't see an official lineup for this game quite yet, but right now we see Brandon Woodruff and Dakota Hudson as your projected starters. Now, I do think this is a good spot for the Brewers if they do face Dakota Hudson here. The Brewers are a very powerful lineup. They're ranked 5th in baseball in isolated power against righties, and they're 5th in baseball in general in team OPS against righties, where the Cardinals haven't put up as good of numbers against righties. They're starting to get there. They've improved. In the beginning of the season, they were ranked near 25th in team OPS. Now they're ranked 16th, so improving quite a bit, but I still think Woodruff is the better option here. Sure, he has been very volatile on the mound. We've seen the great from Woodruff, and we've seen some of the worst starts he's had in his career this season, but his last 2 starts have been really solid. 6 innings of 1-run ball against the Nationals with 6 strikeouts back on May 21st, and then back on May 15th against the Marlins. 5 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts as well. The Brewers did win both of those games, and they covered the run line in both of those as well. And actually, in 4 of Woodruff's last 5 starts, the Brewers have won and covered the run line also. So I'm going to take him here on the money line here. We don't need to lay the run line on the road. An important game for Milwaukee. I think they take it on the road. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Alek Manoah and Chase Silseth are your starters here. Now, there's no must-win games this early in the season for a team above 500 like the Blue Jays, but these are the type of games you really got to pick up when you've got your ace on the mound going up against a very inexperienced starter. These are the games the Blue Jays need, and Manoah has been fantastic for him. 5-1 with a 1.62 ERA. I sure like to see those strikeout numbers rise, but he's limited walks and home runs fantastic. 1.62 walks per 9, one of the best pitchers in limiting walks this season, and only 0.54 home runs per 9. So yeah, the 1.62 ERA, but an even solid 2.61 expected ERA. He's going up against Chase Silseth that sure has pitched well to start the season in his major league career, but he still has a 5.15 FIP, 3.72 expected FIP as well. So I do think there is regression we're going to see in his game. And the Blue Jays lineup, they've been pretty quiet this season, but this is the type of matchup you've got to be able to get some runs early on Silseth. The Angels bullpen has struggled at times, so I do think Toronto will have success on them as well. I'm going to take the Blue Jays here on the money line. They are the favorites, only slight favorites, but I think they win this game. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Seattle Mariners. Now, I think we have a big-time pitching mismatch here with Justin Verlander and Chris Flexen as your starters. We've got a future Hall of Famer going up against a guy that has struggled in 2022. Flexen 1-6 this year with a 4.98 ERA. The home runs have really piled up for him lately. He's given up 6 home runs in his last 3 starts combined, and at least 1 home run in his last 4 starts as well. The Mariners have not fared well in Flexen's games this season. In most of those games, the opposition is covering the run line. We've seen 4-0, 9-0, 6-2. And even against the Red Sox, where the Mariners had a 5-0 lead last time he pitched, Flexen blew that game, and the Red Sox went on to win 6-5. Against Verlander, there's no way I can back the home dog here. I know the Mariners have been competitive against Houston in recent seasons, but this is not the game I think they compete in. Give me the Astros here on the reverse run line. I'm going to lay 2.5 runs, try to get a better price with a much better team. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tony Gonsolin and Madison Bumgarner are your starters. Now, I do think both guys are certainly up for some regression as we continue. I've said it kind of quite a bit on this Friday card with some of these pitchers, but I think it's the case yet again for these two. Tony Gonsolin has pitched well this season. There's no doubting that. I mean, 4-0, 1.62 ERA. How bad could he be pitching? But has had issues with the home run ball and the walks, not only this season, but in his career so far. But the strikeout numbers are picking up for Gonsolin, which is impressive to see. He's actually been able to pitch deeper into ball games as well. In recent years, only about a 4 to 5 inning guy, but we've seen him stretch it out to 6, even more innings this season at certain spots. His last 2 games, he went 6 innings plus. So it's something positive to see in Gonsolin's game. I think Bumgarner is in a bad spot here. The beginning of the season at a sub-2 ERA was pitching really well, but lately we're starting to see the regression, and he's given up a home run in 4 of his last 5 starts. He gave up 2 home runs and 4 earned runs in his last start against the Cubs. And he's facing a Dodgers lineup that I mentioned at the beginning of the season. They hit righties well. They don't really hit lefties well. Well, they're starting to hit lefties too. They're hitting righties number 1 in baseball, but against lefties, they're still in the top 12 in team OPS, starting to pick things up against left-handed pitching. I think they get to Bumgarner just like they did the first time they saw Madison back on May 16th. He went 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and only 1 strikeout in that outing. And the Dodgers win. I think the Dodgers win this game as well. I'm going to lay the run line with Los Angeles in this spot. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2 lefties on the mound in this one, and Jose Quintana and Sean Manaea. Now, even though Jose Quintana does have the better ERA, I still think Sean Manaea is the better option on the mound for San Diego. In his first season with the Padres, 55 strikeouts in 49 innings. We saw him strike out 12 batters back on May 14th against the Braves in 7 innings of work. Last time out, didn't fare too well against the Giants, but his team was still able to win that ball game, and I think they're going to be able to win this ball game as well. Facing Jose Quintana, Padres are good against lefties this season, the top 10 in both team OPS and isolated power against left-handed pitching, while the Pirates 20th in team OPS against lefties and 18th in isolated power. I think Manaea is the better option. I think the Padres have the far better bullpen, the better lineup, and they're playing at home. So I'm going to take San Diego here on the run line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Jameson Taillon and Jeffrey Springs are your starters for this one. Now, Jeffrey Springs has pitched well for the Rays this season, and his role as an opener has actually expanded to more of as a early relief and starting pitcher. I mean, the Springs has pitched in 5 2/3 innings last time out against the Orioles, 4 2/3 against the Blue Jays before that. He is pitching deeper into ball games. Last outing, 5 2/3 with 7 strikeouts, only 1 hit allowed, and no earned runs allowed. He's pitching well with that 1.32 ERA this season, a .8 whip, and I think he pitches well against the Yankees here, a team that's lineup is dealing with some injuries. We saw the Yankees address those needs with signing Matt Carpenter to a major league contract. Not sure that's going to help the team too much, especially in this game against a left-handed pitcher, but Jameson Taillon on the other side, although he's pitched well overall this year, there is some regression in his game that I worry about. The strikeout numbers, only 34 strikeouts in 42 2/3 innings, so those are pretty low for him. And he also struggled against this Rays lineup in 2021. Last year, a 4.85 ERA, an 0-2 record in 13 innings. He gave up 13 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 home runs, and 6 walks against these Rays. The Rays have really done well against the Yankees in seasons past, especially at Tropicana Field, and we're getting a really good price with Tampa Bay in this spot. So give me the Rays here on the money line. Next up, our final game of the night, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see John Gray and Cole Irvin as your projected starters for this one. Now, if we did the Ron's Rundown Awards, I think Cole Irvin would be nominated for Mr. Regression 2022 alongside guys like Zach Greinke and Ian Anderson and maybe Madison Bumgarner you can throw in there. But Cole Irvin, I think, is one of the guys we're going to see a lot of regression from this year. 3.21 ERA, but a 5.45 expected ERA. That's a pretty steep difference for a guy that's already pitched 33 innings in 2022. Strikeout numbers are way down for him, even more down than last year, which we only had 6.31 Ks per 9 in 2021, down to 5.88 in 2022. The home run numbers are still an issue for Irvin at 1.34 home runs per 9, and he's facing a Texas Rangers lineup that is in the top 13 in team OPS against lefties and in the top 10 at number 8 in isolated power against lefties. John Gray, I think, is pitching better than that 5.14 ERA may suggest. I think he pitches well enough against a pretty weak Oakland A's lineup in this spot to give Texas the win. So I'm going to take the Rangers here on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday, May 27th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.